I audible out there? Well, that's because that's the mic's over there. But you can hear the guitar? I mean, you can hear it over the speaker?
He had it on.
Wait a second.
Play a loud chord to see.
I can hear it. Shalom, everybody. Hey.
Shalom.
Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. So, I have a friend in Maine whom I check in with every now and then. He goes, but I still call him by his college nickname, Rabbit. I talked to him this week in Maine, where he retired. He retired from Baltimore to Maine. I don't know why anybody would do that, but he did. And they had this terrible last week. Houses were blown away, and seriously. And they're getting another storm that threatens to be just as bad tomorrow. So I bring that up because this is winter in Riverside. Like, it's chilly. It's chilly. And a little bit of a surprise to us because we weren't expecting it to be in the upper 40s, but sometimes it is. So it's winter. It's not like winter in Maine, but we should still warm up the room. That's my whole point. It's cold relative to Riverside, so let's warm the room up a bit. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manayim. Shevet achim. Page 128. You know, if you're regular, it's a fixation of mine. I like to do it every Friday night. I will say, I hope you'll have song sheets. My sermon is going to tell stories about Jacob, Moses, and Elijah. Now there is an Elijah song we all know, but there's no Jacob song that I know. But there are. But when I put this to Elliot, he came up with 3 Moses songs, so they're part of our repertoire this evening. We'll do Yiddish Nefesh. Nefesh Avarachman, Yiddish Nefesh Avarachman, Meshocharecha, Eretz Orecha, Meshocharecha, Eretz Orecha, So our first Moses song.
This is a Sephardic song from Turkey. So the language is Ladino. You can see the translation. I just want to point out a few words that are especially central to the story. The first word is paro, means the Pharaoh. So it was gazing at the stars and read that to mean that Moses would be born, which he was very afraid of. So he ordered all the wet nurses, las comadres, not to take a Hebrew child. Of course, all the wet nurses there in the land then were Jewish, so they did. And his sister, the Levite, made a basket, un arco, you hear that word, arco, and put it into the Rio Nilo, the river Nile. Paro era streyero, salió una noche al sereno, vino una estrella divina, tenía que nacer Moshe. Manda las comadres, cuantas en Egipto son, a todas las conjuró que no reciban la judío. Las comadres eran judías, del Dios eran queridas, a recibían y fuiban, emperó nació Moshe. Su hermana la Levia hizo hacer una arca, entera le pez le dio, al río Nilo la echó.
Candles, page 121. Carolee.
Thanks. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Would you sing the blessing with me, please? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. L'cha Dodi, page 138.
And when we get to the last verse, Bo'ih v'shalom, we'll stand and face the back. Shabbat, le Shabbat nekabel.
שמור וזכור דיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו תפארת והיתילה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי איי לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת, לשבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת אקום נבלך, כי היא מקור הברכה, מרש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי תורי תוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי אורי שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת, לשבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני ים סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת, לשבת נקבלה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת, לשבת נקבלה.
So I'm going to ask you to turn, please, to page 143. Now, when this prayer book was published, and, I was perusing it, and I saw they had included this biblical passage from the book of Genesis, I didn't understand what it's doing there, and I still don't understand what it's doing there, and consequently, I never read it as part of the liturgy for the Shabbat. Tonight is an exception because this is going to fit into what I'm going to be speaking about a little bit later. So let me read it through, like I say, it'll be really helpful for what I want to say in a little while. So Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. Coming upon a certain place, he passed the night there, for the sun was setting. Taking one of the stones of the place, he made it as his headrest, as he lay down, and he lay down in that place. He dreamed, and lo, a ladder was set on the ground with its top reaching to the heavens, and lo, angels of God going up and coming down, and lo, God stood above it, and he said, I, Adonai, am the God of your father Abraham, the God of Isaac. The land on which you are lying I will give to you and to your descendants. And your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread out to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. Through you and your descendants, all the families of the earth shall find blessing. And here I am with you. I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this soil. I will not let you go as long as you have yet to do what I have promised you, what I have yet to do, what I have promised you. Waking from his sleep, Jacob said, Truly, God was in this place, and I did not know it. He was awestruck and said, How awe-inspiring is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a great story, but I still don't know what it's doing in the Friday night service. Continue with Chatzi Kaddish, page 144.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבו,
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חידותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון אביומכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב, באמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו, לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, באמרו Amen.
We praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. We praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due now and forever. Page 146, please rise.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach, Baruchu Adonai hamvorach. לעולם ועד, לעולם, 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 לעולמם, לעולם ועד. יא לי, 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 לי. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe. Please be seated. Who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot, the Lord of hosts, is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Ravim. 150.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shochveinu u'b'kumenu Nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu Ulahem negeh yomam v'layla
V'ahavtecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. Hear, Israel, listen, Israel. Adonai, our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please rise.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
Please chant the Via Hafta with me. Via Hafta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochtecha uv'kumecha Ukshartam le'olot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tiskeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, V'yitem kadoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Good job. Oh, you're so welcome. My pleasure.
Love your God with every heart. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. 157 together. Read this with me, please. Top of the page. You know, let's actually, you got ahead of me a second. That's nice. But let's do the second one. It's more appropriate for the moment. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Just turn the page, please.
Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayom lifnei Moshe zeli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed לעולם, לעולם, לעולם ועד.
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without the past. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Vishamaru, page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת להדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם.
Your praise. 164, please rise.
ברוך אתה אדוני
166. I'm sorry.
אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו אמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך אל הגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ואין למען אתה לך חיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני וחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יומם, ההללויה סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. For the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the strength to improve the world, with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise. For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being. That's our hoda'ah, our gratitude for the evening, to things later in the Siddur. So, anybody got anything you're grateful for? Grateful for this hot weather? Anybody? We're here. That's true. We are totally here. Wow. All right, well, we've got two. All right, that's okay. If I wait long enough. And by the way, while I'm coming down, I noticed a couple of you going over to the bookcase to get a different Siddur. I thought we had arranged it so that all the Siddurim that you would be tempted to take are the thicker ones. But should you find yourself with a thin one and you're confused by the page numbers, those page numbers are also there too in brackets, so you don't have to feel too unself-confident. You can use either Siddur. Yes? Do we know each other?
Vaguely. So I just wanted to say that I was excited and grateful tonight to see one of my students, Hunter, who's sitting in the back with his lovely family. And I just wanted to say that I'm so glad that he's here and that they're all here. So welcome, and it's really nice to see you outside the class.
Yes? Okay, there we go. Hunter, if you got something to say, you're more than welcome. I saw your mom put your hand down. You have something you want to say? Go ahead.
I'm grateful to still be in remission. That's what I'm grateful for.
Yeah, totally. That's really good to know. Thank you. Now, Hunter, I'm coming all the way back here. I got bad knees. You better have something to say. Okay, well, take the mic. And the guy's wearing a tie. There are only 2 people in this room with a tie, and Hunter is one of them. I see your hand. I'm coming.
I am thankful for my cats.
Oh, yeah. What's your cat's name?
Hazel, Annie, and Beatrice.
We got 2 of them.
No, 3.
3. Okay, say them again.
Annie, Hazel, and Beatrice.
And why are you grateful for them? They howl. They got smells.
Because they give me a smile every day.
All right. Did you tell them to say that? Thank you for that. Thank you. Over here, I'm coming over.
Thank you. I'm grateful for my little dude who is now taller than me. He's going to be 18 tomorrow, and he made me a mom, my oldest. Yeah. So I'm grateful for my Shia, who I just embarrassed horribly. So my job is done.
You're grateful for what?
Painkillers.
Okay. You got any? Anybody else? Oh, here we go. He has to stand up. Notice this.
Sorry, I'm a retired professional speaker. Sorry, I'll be talking all night. We got real good news from the California Office of Emergency Services this week. You might have heard that a year ago we got a grant for various security improvements. But the way it works is they don't actually give you the money. You have to make the improvements, spend the money, and then apply for reimbursement. So in December, we put in new security cameras. You might see them in ceilings here and there. Anyway, they're all over the place. If you're in the office sometime, you'll see now there's this big monitor that shows what all the security cameras are showing, the parking lot outside, all the rooms in the temple. And so it's wonderful to have the new security cameras, and also there were new ones for TBE CDC. But we were wondering how difficult it would be to deal with the state and ask for reimbursement for expenses. So last week we applied for reimbursement for the $27,000 we had just spent on new security cameras. And this week we got an email that our request for reimbursement is approved. $27,000 is on the way from the state, and we're going to keep this up all year.
It's too bad it didn't say $37,000, but okay. Anybody else? Did I see another hand squeaking up somewhere? Okay.
We... Yes. When now, okay. This is a good time. So say Shalom by Nurit Hirsch.
Oh, say Shalom bimromav, Huya say Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Oh, say Shalom bimromav, Huya יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Thank you. So it's the moment in the service where we bring to mind members of our community in need of healing. We bring to mind Gloria Mangus, Pamela Mangus, Judy Richmond, Colton Wayne Whitaker, John Cruz, Dan Strauss, Darlene DeMason, Linda Stroman, Eddie Archibek, Dan Hantman, Tom Stieg, Kerry Bardine, Kenny Hayes, Robin Mendez, Dorothy Odson, David Coopersmith, Don Oppenheim, Tim Hayes, Andrew Finko, Sue Finko, Lynn Yarmoff. Although she's doing pretty well. She had a good doctor's appointment this week. Lynn Goodstein, Sean Goodstein, Diane Quasman. We need to take her off the list. She's doing fine. Laura Werba and Duncan Webb. And my left, other names you want to mention? Anybody else? To my right? Okay. And our prayer for healing is the one in the inside front cover of our Siddur.
מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, מי שברך אמותינו שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל, may the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and be strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with the vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mi sheberach avotenu, mi sheberach imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I said Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
That's a little better. How are you all? And don't complain about the cold. I'm not going to hear anything about the cold. Think about my friend in Maine. So before I begin my remarks, I just want to point out that this war in Gaza is coming up to its 100th day. There are still 120-some hostages whose fate is uncertain. And of course, yesterday and today, Israel was on trial, brought by South Africa, accused by South Africa of genocide. And incredibly nerve-wracking to see where that's going to go. So we really have to keep all of that in mind. Though I want to talk about, what I want to do is give a more classic Devar Torah this evening. So one of the wonderful things about the Torah, as is the case with all great literature, but really wonderful things, one of the wonderful elements of the Torah is the pictures that it paints for us. Wonderful, wonderful pictures. Word pictures, of course, but the words bring pictures to our mind. For example, when it says at the beginning, God says, Vayehi or, Yehi or, God says, let there be light, and there was light. And you read that, and I imagine, certainly for myself, a picture comes into my head. Into my head, it's a sunrise against dark clouds. I may have just ruined your picture, but that's the picture that comes to my mind. I want to talk about 3 stories in the Bible, one in Genesis, one in Exodus, and one in the first book of Kings, and talk about the pictures that they paint and the theologies that they present us with. I hope that you might find them both both interesting and somewhat inspirational. I certainly do. So the first one is the Jacob story, which we read. Jacob steals the blessing, the family blessing from his brother. He cheats his father, and Esau, the brother, not necessarily justifiably, but he's a man of some temper, wants to kill the brother. And mom says, get out of Dodge, and Jacob gets out of Dodge, and he goes out into the desert. And night falls, and it's time to go to sleep, and he needs a pillow. So what does he do? He takes a rock. He takes a stone. He takes a boulder, whatever size it is, to be his pillow. And the first time I realized what I'm about to say was just today when I was thinking about this. I mean, it always struck me as curious that it would be a rock. Who uses a rock for a pillow? But it may tell us that Jacob is feeling more than a little bit of guilt because of what he's done to his father, what he's done to his brother, and how he's broken up the family, basically. And he's punishing himself by using a rock for a pillow. I can't think of any other reason why someone would do that. And he has a dream, and this dream is really beautiful. Ladder going up and down, angels going up and down, and God talking to Jacob and saying what we read this evening, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to bring you back. And what we learn, among other things, is that by this dialogue with Jacob and God, it's actually a monologue, Jacob doesn't say anything, we know that God more or less approves of what Jacob has done. We are not the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Esau, right? We're the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So there are several interesting elements to this story, a couple of which I want to point out to you. One, it's any old place where Jacob lays his head. When I teach this story, I say something like, I'll ask people, if he had gone 50 yards this way or half a mile that way, would he have had this dream? But the answer is yes. The answer is that whatever he encountered that night in the dream, it was something that he needed. He needed to meet with God, and they had this very reassuring, very comforting meeting, Jacob and God, which is what Jacob needed that night. He needed to be comforted. He has no idea where he's going. He has no idea what his future is going to be. He has no idea if he's going to make it to the old country where he's headed, and he's going by himself. He doesn't even have a donkey with him. So God comes to him in a dream and says, Jacob, I'm going to take care of you. And God does, of course, take care of him. So that's one story. The second story we read last week in the Torah portion, Moses, who gets to Midian by way of killing an Egyptian taskmaster, and gets married by way of saving some damsels in distress from some ruffians who are preventing the damsels from watering their flocks at the community well, finds himself out in the desert, also out in the desert, right? And in fact, the text tells us he goes to Mount Horeb. And Mount Horeb, to remind you, is a synonym for Mount Sinai. In the book of Deuteronomy, if I'm not mistaken, that mountain is always only referred to as Horeb. So he's there at Mount Sinai, but he's on the ground. And he's walking, and he sees this scraggly thing all aflame. And he said, in my mind's eye, in my picture in my head, is he's walking by with his shepherd's staff, And he says, oh, yeah, it's a burning bush, who cares, and walks by. But he looks again, and he sees that it's not being consumed. The Hebrew goes, v'hasneh enenu uchal. The bush was not consumed. And he stops, and he looks, and he says, this is pretty amazing. I got to figure out what's going on. Now, at that point, the first moment that Moses encounters the burning bush, there's an angel, a messenger of God, imaged in the bush. But the minute that he says, this is something miraculous, which is pretty much what he says, the angel disappears and God appears in the bush. God appears in the bush. And he and Moses start having a dialogue, right? Now, here's something that I also only recently realized. Before the bush, 7 minutes, 3 minutes before the bush, Moses thinks of himself, I'm just an ordinary zhlub. I'm a shepherd. I'm out there with the sheep. I got a wife. I love the wife. I got a kid. I'm in the family. I'm just an ordinary guy. He doesn't know that he's due for extraordinary things. But the moment he recognizes the miraculous and God speaks to him out of the bush, he begins to get some hint over the fact that his future, his destiny isn't quite what he thought it was. Now, you may remember in the story when God says to him, look, I want you to go to Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. You know, Moses says, what? And God says, go to Pharaoh and let my people, tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And he goes, what? And he needs some rather serious convincing, including that that God has to send for his brother Aaron. But he goes on, of course, to become the greatest of our prophets, giver of the Torah, the man who shepherds the Israelites across the Sea of Reeds, through the desert to the other side, to the land of Canaan, where, of course, he passes away. So there, too, is an encounter. It's a different kind of encounter than the one with Jacob. Here, it's one of noticing. It's one of paying attention. It's one of mindfulness. We learn at the same time that Moses apparently learns about himself, and God learns about Moses, that he has this spiritual capacity, this mindful capacity to observe the miraculous in the ordinary. Because even if the bush isn't being consumed, and that's a pretty good story, it's a little shrub, right? But he says, no, what is this miraculous thing that's going on here? So again, there's an angel, and again, there's God. And here the message is, Moses, you're an extraordinary guy. You're going to need a little training. You're going to need a little time. You're going to need your brother to show up. But you're destined for great things. And your people, as a result, are destined for great things. So that's the second story. The third story, which if I were teaching this in a class, I would give you the story before the one I'm about to tell you, is about Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet is running away from Queen Jezebel, who's made it quite clear she wants him dead. And he doesn't want to die, and he's not real happy about it. And he runs away. He runs away, and he runs away from Haifa, as far away as Haifa, by the way. And he runs out into the desert. He's at Mount Carmel when he starts fleeing, which is where Haifa is located. He goes to sleep. He lies down and he wants to die. He wants to die. He says so. And he falls asleep. But an angel kind of wakes him up a little while later, and he wakes up, and there's a jar of water and some fresh baked bread, and the angel says, eat, and he eats. Goes back to sleep. Angel wakes him up again and says, eat. Same loaf of bread, well, different loaf of bread, but bread and water. And the angel says, you're going to need this for your journey. And Elijah goes off on a 40-day journey on 2 pieces of bread and 2 cups and 2 jugs of water until he comes to Mount Horeb. Same place where Moses was. He comes to Mount Horeb, and he goes up and he goes into a cave. And from the cave, the text says there's thunder, and God is not in the thunder. And there's an earthquake, it says, and God is not in the earthquake. And there's fire, and the text says God is not in the fire. And then the text says, without describing it the way the fire, the earthquake, and the water are described, kol demama daka, a still, small voice. You've probably heard that phrase. God isn't in the fire. God isn't in the earthquake. God isn't in the wind. The text doesn't say, but by implication, I don't think it's a very far inference to make, God is in the still, small voice. And that that notion of the still small voice comforts Elijah also. It gives Elijah a certain amount of self-knowledge, a certain amount of self-confidence, a certain sense that he is with God in an internal kind of way, in that still small voice inside of him. And by extension, of course, and one of the reasons I love this story, I love all three of these stories, but one reason I love this particular story is because, excuse me, the concept of the still small voice teaches us something that I think we moderns really need. We moderns tend to be a little skeptical about the literalness of the biblical stories, little skeptical about, well, the earthquake and the fire and the splitting of the sea and the 40 days and nights of rain. We're not sure that that happened, but we can be sure with just a little bit of faith, that the still small voice is a theological, divine, transcendent reality that dwells within us, that allows us to understand that there is something outside of us, that there is something above us, there is something that conjoins us with God, but also conjoins us with each other. We all have that still small voice dwelling within us. And so here you have these three stories. There's an angel in all three of them, which I find really interesting. There's a meeting between Jacob and God, Moses and God, and a rather prolonged meeting between Eliyahu HaNavi and God, Elijah and God. And they all teach us something similar. They also teach us something different. They teach us that God can be a comfort to us with Jacob. They teach us that we can be and maybe need to be mindful to see the miraculous in the world, as in the case of the burning bush. And that in the case of Elijah and the still small voice, there's something within us that presents us with the possibility of a greater reality than what we see in front of our eyes. Or to put it differently, gives us the possibility of seeing what lies before our very eyes. In that, we can see the very miraculous. And so those are three great stories. I hope, as I was telling them, you got some images in your head. The one with Elijah, I'll say, standing in a cave, very noisy, very loud, very windy, and he's got a tallis on, a mantle. He wears a tallis. And Elijah, is looking out at all of this, and suddenly he gets this internal revelation, this interior revelation, that God is in him, God is with him, and as God is with all of us. Shabbat Shalom. I need my ark openers. We're going to turn to the inside back. And Hunter, I wonder, can I get you up here? Can I get you up here? You can help these two folks open the ark. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, ויודעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, Ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, bashamayim mima'al, ve'al haaretz, mitachat ein od, ve'nemar, ve'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. We skipped the other Moses song, so this is a good time to do that.
Well, this retells the story you just told about Moses at the burning bush. This is another Sephardic song that was gathered in Morocco. And all these Sephardic songs go back to probably like the 14th century when the Jews were kicked out of Spain in 1492. And they went various places like Morocco, Turkey, Mexico, Brazil. And they brought their songs with them. And the people who brought their songs were the women. These songs weren't written down to the end of the 19th century. They were just passed down orally by the women. And a lot of the songs are about daily life, about cooking, about marriage, about children. Some are liturgical. This one just tells this story, and it tells about Moses going out of Egypt, fleeing from the king and getting married. He met Jethro, and he goes to Midian, and he goes to Horeb. And he heard a voice. So the voice says, Moses, my servant, take off your shoes. So in Ladino, that's descalza tus zapatos. So he's telling him, take off your shoes. You're in a holy place. And God says, I will. If they do not let you go, the Egyptians don't let you go. With 10 plagues will I send him, so that he will know who I am. So in Ladino, that's que sepa quién soy yo. That's God talking in Ladino.
Moshe salvo de Misraim, huyendo del rey Paró, y se fue derecho a Midian, y se encontró con Yitro. Luego viera arder una zarza, el zarza no se quemó. Moshe se cubrió sus ojos, temiendo ver a Dios. Oyó una voz que decía, Moshe, Moshe, mi siervo, descálzalos tus zapatos, que en gran santo estás tú. Te irás derecho a Misraim y dirás al rey Paró que te entregue a mi pueblo, a pueblo hebreo. Y si no te